Hey guys, in this brief lecture, we'll be discussing various reading techniques which would aid you in gathering knowledge from a text and help you in developing critical thought. Now, without further ado, let's begin today's lecture. Now, reading is a complex process that involves perception and thought. So whenever we are reading, we are consciously engaged in the activity of reading. So it involves both perception, your consciousness, and thought, your thinking ability. Combining word recognition and comprehension. And how does reading happen? Reading happens by combining word recognition and comprehension. First, we'll be able to identify the words written on the page. You'll be able to identify the individual alphabets, which in turn form words, and then you will be able to comprehend what it means. You will be able to understand what it means. So it combines word recognition and comprehension. Whatever that is written on a piece of paper becomes comprehensible through the act of reading, becomes understandable through the act of reading. Reading helps people to gather knowledge and thereby develop critical insight. So it helps in gathering knowledge as well as it helps in developing critical insight. If you are an avid reader, then you would have a clearer viewpoint on the world and the world's affairs. If you are not an avid reader and if you don't read that much, then your knowledge of the world would be limited. So reading helps people to gather knowledge, and it also helps us in developing critical insight, to think critically. Now there are 6 types of reading techniques that you can implement while reading. They are skimming, scanning, extensive reading, intensive reading, close reading, and interactive reading. Once again, skimming, scanning, extensive reading, intensive reading, close reading, and interactive reading. Now we shall discuss each of these in the upcoming slides. Now skimming and scanning are fast reading techniques. Skimming and scanning are reading techniques that use rapid eye movements and keywords to move quickly through text for slightly different purposes. So skimming and scanning implement rapid eye movements. That is, your eyes move rapidly through the text and it moves quickly through the text, and they would try to identify the keywords, but both skimming and scanning differs slightly in its purpose. Skimming and scanning are ways of reading, and it is implemented in speed reading. That is, when you are reading a text in a quick manner, you implement skimming and scanning, and it happens through rapid eye movements. It is, your eyes are constantly looking out for keywords in both skimming as well as scanning, but its intention or its purpose is different. Skimming and scanning differs from one another in its purpose. Now let's take a look at skimming as well as scanning, and let's differentiate them. Skimming is reading rapidly in order to get a general overview of a material. So when you read rapidly in order to get a general overview of a material, in order to get a gist of the material, then it is known as skimming. Skimming is also known as gist reading. You will be able to get a gist or an overview of a material. When you read newspapers early in the morning, this is what you do. You quickly read through it in order to get an overview of the news. Skimming tells you what general information is within a section. And when you do skimming, it gives you or it tells you what the general information is there in a section. So skimming tells you the general information that is there within a section. It will be able to give you a summary of the idea that is there in the section. Now moving on to scanning. Scanning is reading rapidly in order to find specific facts. Now scanning does not give you an overview of the material that you are reading, but it is reading in order to find specific facts. Now, when you attempt comprehension questions, when a passage is given and then a series of questions are given, you often do scanning. That is, after reading the question, after identifying the key words in the question, you try to find out the answers of the particular question from the extract that is given. It's not the other way around. You don't read the entire extract and then turn to comprehension questions. Comprehension questions are to be dealt with in an opposite manner. That is, first you need to read the question, understand it thoroughly, identify the key words from the question. What are you intending to gain from that extract? And then you approach the extract with the key words in mind. So here you are looking for specific facts that are there in the text or the material. Now, scanning helps you to locate a particular fact. Now, suppose you are reading a Wikipedia entry on a butterfly and you want to look for one specific fact. And what is that? You want to look whether this butterfly is a pest or is it harmless. Now, certain butterflies are pests. They destroy crops. They eat leaves of certain plants and they destroy crops, and they may lay eggs and thereby destroy crops. So certain butterflies are considered as pets. So when you are reading a Wikipedia entry on butterflies, and if you are a researcher and you want to find out whether this butterfly is a pest, you will look for the keyword pest there, right? You will look for that keyword within that extract. There you are doing the scanning of a particular text. Now, when you are asked to do comprehension exercises in your textbook, again they might ask you a synonym of a word taken from that particular extract. Now, this often happens in your text. They may ask for synonyms. They will give an extract and they may ask for a synonym for halt, apologize, detain, etc. And what you are supposed to do is you need to read the extract, especially that area in which this particular word is there. So you'll be looking for that word within the text and you will try to identify the meaning of that word by reading it in context with the text. Okay, a word may have different meaning. In different context, it may have different meaning. So what you try to do when you are given a word and you are asked a synonym for that word is, you try to identify the word in the extract. You try to place it in the extract. You try to find it in the extract and then you try to read the words that are surrounding that word. You try to place it in a context and thereby you try to evince meaning out of it. So there you are trying to locate a particular fact by using scanning. I hope that it was clear. So in case of answering comprehension questions, you often do scanning. When you are just reading, when you are reading to get an overview of the material, then you are doing skimming. Now, there is a curious way in which we can consider both these reading techniques. Skimming is like snorkeling and scanning is more like pearl diving. I have given a picture to indicate it. So they say that skimming is like snorkeling and scanning is like pearl diving. Now, when you are involved in an activity like snorkeling, an adventurous activity like snorkeling, what you often do is that using that breathing apparatus, using that scuba apparatus, the underwater breathing apparatus, you plunge into the ocean. You take a dip into the ocean. Thereby, you will get an experience of the entire ocean. When you are snorkeling, you would get an experience of the entire ocean. You would get to see the entire ocean right underneath. That's just an adventurous sport and anyone can do snorkeling. But when it comes to pearl diving, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to find pearls from the oyster. So there you have a specific purpose. You are looking for certain particular words from amongst a text in the case of scanning. So again, when you are doing pearl diving, you are hunting for pearls inside the oysters. So there you have a purpose. you are hunting for pearls. Similar to scanning, where you are hunting for certain words, certain key words to answer your questions. So I hope that you got the analogy. Skimming is like snorkeling. You will get an overview of the ocean. You will get what it is like to be inside, or what it is to be like to take a dip in the ocean. You will get to know the fauna that is there inside the ocean. But in the case of pearl diving, you have one specific purpose in mind, and that is to find the pearl inside the oyster. So in the case of scanning, you are trying to find that one key word which is there within the text. I hope that analogy was clear. Moving on, we use skimming in previewing. Now, what do you mean by previewing? You tend to read a text even before reading it, right? When you take a short story for the first time, you just read the blurb. Or when you take a short story collection or a novel for that matter, you would read the blurb, the back, the extract that is given at the back of that particular book. That is previewing, reading before you read. When you go to a library and take a book, you first go through the blurb. What is there in the cover? You will read through the cover, and thereby you will be able to get a gist or a summary of what is inside the book. And at times you may go through the pages as well. Quickly you may read through the pages, and that is known as previewing, that is reading before reading. And skimming can also be used in reviewing. Reviewing means reading after you have read. So literature students often have to reread the text. They may have to read a text and then reread it from another critical perspective. There you are doing reviewing, reading a text after you have read it. Same is the case with even science students. When you read through the journals, first you read it, and then in order to understand it even better, you try to reread it, and that is known as reviewing. Okay, so skimming is used both in previewing stage as well as in reviewing stage. Reading before you read and reading after you read. Now, skimming is used for determining the main idea from a long selection you don't wish to read, or when trying to find source material for a research paper. Now, you also do skimming to determine the main idea from a long selection that you don't wish to read. Suppose you have to sit down and read an entire research paper in order to understand it better. But at times it would be tiring to go through an entire research paper. So your intention there is to quickly read through it and to find the source material and to find those paras which are important for your research. You just want certain selections from that entire article or from that entire research paper. You just need certain selections from that entire research paper. There also you do skimming. So you need to just determine the main idea from the long selection. So you do skimming in order to determine the main idea from a long selection. Suppose they give a long article and ask you to give a gist of it. You just go through it in a random manner, in a rapid manner. Quickly you look for the keywords, and thereby you'll be able to identify what this article is all about. Right? So if you are suppose given a recipe, by just looking at it, you will be able to find out. By the tone of it, you will be able to find out this is a recipe. Suppose you are given a short story or a fairy tale. By the way in which it is constructed, sometimes fairy tale begin with once upon a time. So from the way in which it is constructed, you will be able to identify what it is all about. Same is the case with a research paper. By going through the key words which are used in the research paper, you will be able to identify what it is all about. So, for example, a paper talking about greenhouse effect will have certain words like greenhouse gases, ozone depletion and the like. So by identifying the key words, you will be able to understand that this text is all about greenhouse effect. So skimming is used in previewing which is reading before you read, and it is also used in reviewing, that is reading after you read. When you read a text again, there you are trying to read it and try to read it from a different perspective. So skimming can be used for determining a main idea from a long selection. Now skimming can also be done to find source material for a research paper. Sometimes you may just go through the index or the final works cited page of a research paper. When you go through the works cited page, you will be able to identify some of the major researches which were conducted in this particular area. It might give you references like the Political Weekly and the like, Economic and Political Weekly of India and the like. So from that itself, you know that this is a sociological research, and many sociological research were conducted in that area. So this is how you do that. You read the works cited page, and from there you will be able to identify the research source materials for your research. Now skimming can tell you enough about the general idea and tone of the material. Now by just going through it in a random manner, skimming can tell you enough about the general idea that this particular material is trying to convey, and it also conveys the tone in which the material is set in. Now if it is a scientific paper, it will be written in an objective manner, and it will have a scientific precision. If it is a scientific paper, then the tone will be objective, as well as it will have a scientific precision. It will be accurate. It will have certain measurements, quantitative analysis and the like. But if it is a story, for that matter, then the tone would be entirely different. It will be subjective, and it may contain different points of view. It may have different narrations and narrators, for that matter. So you will be able to identify a material, you will be able to get the general idea and the tone of the material by just skimming through the text. Now you will also be able to find the similarity and differences between the sources by skimming through the text. That is, you will be able to compare and contrast the similarity and differences between two different papers by just skimming through it. Because skimming gives you an overall idea of the material or the text. Now by text I don't mean textbook. By text I mean whatever that is written in a piece of paper. An essay can be a text, short story can be a text, a novel can be a text, and even a scientific treatise can be considered as a text. Now, when it comes to scanning, scanning is used in research to find particular facts, to study fact-heavy topics, and to answer questions requiring factual support. Now, when you do scanning, it is often done in research, and it is used to find particular facts. When you are just scanning through the text, you are focusing on the numbers, the charts, the tables and the like. You are focusing on the keywords that are there in the text. You are focusing on the tables, the charts, the numbers that are given in tables in a tabulated form and the like. And when you are doing scanning, you are also looking for facts. You are studying fact. Whenever you are studying fact-heavy topics, there too you implement scanning. So there you are trying to answer certain questions by reading the keywords. So while you are doing scanning, you are looking out for factual support for your argument. And the factual support comes in the form of tables, charts, diagrams and the like. Now the goal of scanning is to locate and scoop down on particular facts. Now the goal of scanning is to locate facts in a paper. Now this may seem a little bit confusing. So let's take a look at how do we skim while reading. To skim, prepare yourself to move rapidly through the page. You will not read every word. You will pay special attention to typographical cues, headings, boldface, italic type, indenting, bulleted and numbered list. You will be alert for key words and phrases, the names of people and places, dates, nouns and unfamiliar words. So when you are skimming, you are not reading each and every word. Now sometimes readers may do a diagonal reading. Some great writers in Malayalam are said to have implemented diagonal reading. So whenever they read, they don't read each and every word that is there in the text. Instead, what they do is that they would look for typographical cues. That is, certain words will be written in bold face, typeface. Certain words will be written in italic typeface. Certain words or a group of sentences would be indented to the left. Certain lists will be bulleted and there will be a numbered list or a bulleted list. So your attention immediately moves to the list. So let's take this particular slide as an example. Here, your attention is grabbed by this bulleted list, right? So even before reading the first para, you might have read this bulleted list first. And why is that so? Because it is indented to the left and it's given in bulleted forms. And if there was an italic somewhere here, like in if the perception and thought were written in italics, then again your eyes will move to those words. While you're doing skimming, this is what you do. You read the words which are written in boldface or italic typeface, and then you will be reading the bulleted list or the numbered list first. Then you will look for key words and phrases, like words like comprehensible and the like. So you will look for key words and phrases which are used. And you will look for the names of people, the dates if they are given. You will look for the dates, the nouns, because nouns are content words. So you will look for the nouns which are given in that particular material or article. And you will look for unfamiliar words. Suppose a word is written, a word is given and it is a scientific name of a particular species of an animal. Then immediately you will recognize that scientific name, right? So you look out for unfamiliar words, and sometimes they might use a word from a foreign language. There too you will look out for this unfamiliar words when you skim. Now in general, when you skim, you follow these steps. Read the table of contents or chapter overview to learn the main division of ideas. So when you take a book for the first time, you just go through the table of contents. Okay, you just go through the contents page and you will read an overview. If an overview is given at the beginning, then you will just go through the overview to learn the main ideas that are there in the text and how it is well divided. You will go through the contents page to know how well it is organized, how well the idea is organized. And if an overview or an abstract is given at the beginning, then it will aid you in knowing the overview of the text. It will aid you in understanding the text better. It will give you a summary of that particular chapter. Then while you skim, you glance through the main headings in each chapter just to see a word or two. Read the headings of charts and tables. And then another thing that you do is that you may read the main headings of each chapter. And then just try to see a word or two in the heading. You try to identify certain words in the heading, certain key words in the headings. And you will also read the headings of the charts and the tables. Then read the entire introductory paragraph. And another thing that you need to do while skimming is that you need to read the introductory paragraph as well as the concluding para, because the introductory para often contains the central idea or the argument, and the subsequent paragraphs would be supporting the central idea or argument which is given in the introductory para. So you need to read the entire introductory para when you skim. Then the first and last sentences only of each of the following paragraph, and then in the subsequent paragraph you just need to read the first and last sentences. So when you're doing skimming, after reading the introductory paragraph in its entirety, you must read only the first few sentences and words in the subsequent paragraph. That is, in the remaining paragraphs you need to read only the first few sentences and words from the remaining paragraph. And what you are trying to do here is you are trying to locate the key idea. Your main aim is to locate the main idea. Now stop and quickly read the sentences containing key words indicated in boldface or italics. And you must not read and go on reading the paras. You just need to stop and read the main key words which are given in boldface or italics. Sometimes an entire sentence would be given in boldface or in italics. You need to stop and you need to just read those sentences given in boldface and italics. In bold and italics. When you think you have found something significant, stop to read the entire sentence to make sure. And if you think that you have found some information significant, then you need to stop reading and then again reread it to make sure that you have found a significant piece of information. So when you think that you have found something significant, stop and read the entire sentence to make sure that you are reading something which is significant. Then go on the same way. Resist this temptation to stop to read details you don't need. You need to do the same for the remaining paras. You just have to look for the key words, and if you think that you have found a central idea, or if you think that you have found something significant, you need to reread it in order to be sure that you have found something significant. And after that, what you need to do is that you must resist the temptation of reading unnecessary details. You just have to read those parts which are typed in boldface or italics. You need to look out for the keywords. You need to read only the first few sentences of each paragraph. You need to read the introductory paragraph in its entirety, and that is how you skim. And if possible, you need to read the chapter summaries when provided. Now, in some cases, they might give you an abstract. If it is a journal or if it is a scientific article, then they might give you an abstract. So you might go through the abstract or the summary, and you might get a gist of that particular chapter from that abstract or a summary. So this is a sample for scanning. This is how you do it. You attentively read the first and the last paragraphs, and then you read the first few sentences in the subsequent paragraphs. So you're just looking for the key details, and if something is written, if there is a change in typeface, or for example this is written in parenthesis, so if there is a change in typeface, if there is a bold or italic word somewhere, then you need to pause and read that and try to understand it. So you just read attentively the first and last para, because it would give you an outline of what this is all about. Because here again, this is about capitalism, right? So it gives a fair idea of what capitalism is, and the concluding statements also would give you a fair idea on what capitalism is, and the entire thought comes to an end with the conclusion. That's why you need to read the concluding statement. And then you need to read the first sentences in each para, because that will again give you an idea on what the para is going to be all about. That is how you do the scanning. You're just looking for the key words here, and this is known as a drop-down method. Now we can move on to the section how to do scanning. Now remember the analogy that I made earlier. We equated scanning with pearl diving. That is, diving deep into the ocean beds to collect pearls from the oysters. So here the pearls are keywords. So we are going in search of keywords from the extract. So you need to know what you are looking for. Decide on a few keywords or phrases, search terms if you will. So you are just looking for certain keywords and phrases that are going to be there in the extract. So we can just call it as search terms. So you become a flesh and blood search engine like Google and Bing. You become a flesh and blood search engine. You move on and you are trying to find out the keywords from the extract. Look for one keyword at a time. So you must not confuse yourself by looking at multiple keywords at a time. You need to just look at one keyword at a time. Because when you look at multiple keywords, then you need to do multiple scans. Let your eyes float rapidly down the page until you find the word or a phrase you want. So you have to just let your eyes float rapidly through the page. You just need to look around the page. Let your eyes float rapidly through the page until you find the word or a phrase you want. So you are just looking at the word or a phrase here, just like looking for pearls from amongst the oysters. When your eyes catches one of your keywords, read the surrounding material carefully. That's how you do it. From the question, you evince or you try to take out a keyword, what you're trying to look at, and you try to find out the keyword from the extract, and then you read the material that is surrounding the keyword. Thereby you try to take meaning for that keyword. You try to arrive at the meaning for that keyword. So when your eye catches one of your keywords, read the surrounding materials carefully. So this is an example for scanning. You're just looking at the keywords. Again, social system, capitalist, profit, all terms related with capitalism. It has something to do with the society, with the capitalist and profit motives. So you're just looking for specific keywords here. Now, how can you implement scanning in answering comprehension questions? Scanning to answer questions. If you are scanning for facts to answer a specific question, one step is already done for you. The question itself supplies the keywords. So if you are trying to find out answers to certain specific questions, one step is already being done for you. So you just need to do the remaining step. And what is that step? They already gave you the question. So you have to just look for those specific words. For example, if you go through your text, now I'll be teaching the extract taken from Nelson Mandela's autobiography. And in that particular text titled Dark Years, they have asked comprehension questions. And one of those questions is find synonyms for halt. Now what you need to do is that you need to find that word in the extract. You need to locate the word in the extract, and then you need to read the words which surround this particular word and thereby come up with a synonym for the word. So you will be able to get the meaning of the word, then you need to come up with a synonym for the word. So the question is already there, so you know what is the keyword that you need to look for. So as I said before, the comprehension question was find the synonym for halt. So one part is already done. First step is already done. They are asking for a synonym for halt. Now what you need to do is that you have already identified the keyword, which is halt, and you need to find the keyword halt in the extract that is given in your text. So this is what happens when you're answering comprehension question. This is what should happen when you're answering comprehension level questions. You need to find the keyword from the question itself. Read each question completely before starting to scan. You should not read the entire extract and then go to the question. Instead, you need to read the questions first. Read each question completely before starting the scan. Choose your keywords from the question itself. If the question asks for the speaker, if the question asks to identify the speaker, just read the question first and try to identify the speaker. if the particular extract is written in first person and it is mentioned that this is an autobiography, then the speaker is going to be the author himself. Just in this case, as I said before, if you are reading the extract about Nelson Mandela and answering the comprehension question, and one of the comprehension question is, who is the speaker in this passage? Since it is an autobiography and it is in the first person narration, you know that the speaker is Nelson Mandela himself. So first you need to completely read the question before starting the scan. Then you need to identify the keyword. So the keyword here is the speaker. Who is the speaker? So you need to identify the speaker. You need to identify the tone of the writing. You need to identify whether it is in first person, second person, and you need to identify what are the kind of pronouns that are used in that particular text. Thereby you will be able to identify the speaker. So read each question completely before starting to scan. Choose your keywords from the question itself. Now, if a question is being asked, where is this particular autobiography set? Then you need to again read the question and then go back to the extract, and somewhere down there it will be written that the particular autobiography was written while Nelson Mandela was in Robben Island. So it is set in Robben Islands. So there again, you can read the question fully, go back to the extract, try to find out the keyword and try to find an answer to the keyword. Look for answers to one question at a time, and at a time you just need to look at one question. Scan separately for each question. At times what people do is that out of fear that they might run out of time, they would read all the questions first, then they would go to the extract. Then again they would read all the questions, then they would go back to the extract. It would eat up your time. So what you need to do is that you need to focus on just one question at a time. Scan separately for each question. Read the extract separately for each question. When you locate a keyword, read the surrounding text carefully to see if it is relevant, because it might help you with the second question. So when you locate a keyword, read the surrounding text carefully to see if it is relevant. Reread the question to determine if the answer you found answers this question. So again, you need to review. You need to review the question. You need to reread the question to determine if the answer you found answers the question. Now, scanning is a technique which needs at most concentration. It requires at most concentration, and it is surprisingly tiring because why? You need to read the question, go back to scanning the text. Again, you need to read the question, then you need to go back to scanning. So it can be tiring. You may have to practice it at not allowing your attention to wander. Another thing is that sometimes your mind might wander. You might listen to a music, or you might be interrupted in between while you're doing the scanning. So you need to make sure that your mind doesn't wander. And sometimes you might read some unnecessary paras as well. So you should not do that. You should be attentive enough. Your mind should not wander. So choose a time and place that you know works for you and dive in. So another thing is that if you're not facing an exam, and if you're not facing the comprehension question in the form of an exam like in IELTS and the like, they will give you comprehension questions, and then there will be pin drop silence and you will be able to find these answers. But for practice, you can always choose a silent or quiet room and then dive in to the extract and read the extract. Now moving on to the third and fourth type of reading, which is intensive reading and extensive reading. Intensive reading is focused reading, where reading is done with specific learning tasks that are set to be achieved. So you do intensive reading, it is a bit of a focused reading, and you have certain learning tasks that have to be achieved. For example, if you are learning for your exams, then that is intensive reading. If you are learning an essay for your exam, you won't omit any portion. It is intensive reading. You have a specific learning task, which is to study for your exams. Then you will be doing an intensive reading. You won't leave out anything. Extensive reading involves large quantities of reading. Extensive reading, reading extensively. Sometimes people might say that you are an avid reader or you are an extensive reader, which means that you read anything and everything under the sun. You won't even leave out a piece of newspaper article. So extensive reading means reading large quantities of reading material. If you get a hold of large quantities of reading material and start reading, especially for leisure, when you start reading novels and you read novel after novel, generally for leisure or for pleasure or for developing your reading skills, then that is known as extensive reading outside the academic circle. When you are reading for a test or for an exam, then it is intensive reading. There you are focused. There you have a learning task that is said to be achieved. But when you are doing extensive reading, you are reading large quantities of reading material. And it is generally for pleasure or for developing your general reading skills. Now, fifth and sixth type of reading is close reading and interactive reading. Close reading is again a reading. It is a reading for detailed information, and the text is closely scrutinized. Close reading is often implemented by critics, or it can also be implemented by researchers, where you are scrutinizing the text. You are reading each and every word carefully. You are trying to make out meanings from these words. You are trying to evince meanings from these words. So you are closely reading the text without leaving out anything. Close reading is for detailed information, where the text is closely scrutinized, where you closely examine or peruse the text. You closely examine each and every detail that is given there. Sometimes you will be examining the year, because then you will be able to place it in context. You will know when these incidents took place. Then you will also take a look at the author, and if there is any autobiographical elements in the text, you will be able to analyze it. So that is known as close reading. Again, you will be looking at the tone of the text. Is it written in a casual tone, or is it written in a scientific, objective manner? Is it subjective or is it objective? Does it have a first-person narration or a second-person narration, or is it written in an omniscient perspective? So here again, you will be looking at the text, the tone, the intention of the text, etc. So in close reading, we are looking for detailed information. So you are closely examining the text or closely scrutinizing the text. Now when you do interactive reading is often done in classrooms. Now we cannot do interactive reading, but this section as such was supposed to be an interactive section where you were supposed to read the passages and find out the answers for yourself. So interactive reading happens with the active participation of the students. Students are asked to read. And sometimes if you are reading a particular play, the students will be asked to enact it. You will be asked to come to the front and you will be asked to enact it. And it is an interactive manner of reading. It helps in improving the reading process. Now those were the 6 types of reading techniques: skimming, scanning, extensive reading, intensive reading, close reading and interactive reading. Now we shall take a look at barriers. Now let's move on to the barriers of reading, or the roadblocks that you might face while reading. The first and foremost is the lack of grammatical and linguistic competence. If you don't have enough knowledge on grammar, or if you lack enough knowledge on vocabulary, or if you don't know more words and you have a limited working vocabulary, then it can affect your reading. Now you can only improve it through reading. If you don't read, then how will you be able to improve your grammar or vocabulary? So the primary barrier for reading is lack of grammatical and linguistic competence. The second factor are environmental factors like poor lighting, size of the book or font size. Now these are external factors. Like if you don't have enough lighting and if there is not enough light, then you won't be able to read. You won't be able to read in the dark, right? Another thing is the size of the book. If the book is too small or the font size is too small, then you won't be able to read it clearly. Another thing is lack of concentration. Now, students these days lack concentration because they spend most of their times on screen. So when you increase your screen time, it will affect your concentration badly. You won't be able to retain whatever that you read. So lack of concentration is one thing, and lack of motivation to pursue the habit of reading is another. That is, if you don't have enough motivation to pursue the habit of reading, if you are not on the habit of reading, if you don't like reading, and if you don't feel motivated to read a book, even when your father or mother gifts you with a book, you must feel motivated to read it, right? If you lack the motivation, you won't be able to read. So that is again a major roadblock in reading. Another thing is distraction in the form of visual spectacle. Now, teenagers are more interested in watching a play rather than reading it. So students of literature would be more interested in watching a movie or watching a play rather than reading a screenplay or reading a play itself, because visual form appeals you. Now for your grandfathers, radio might have been a popular medium of communication. So audio signals appeal them. And then they were also in the habit of reading. Then when it came to your father and mother, with the advent of television age, people were more interested in listening to news broadcasts. Instead of reading the newspaper, they would just switch on the news channels and listen to it, because information is available through television. Now, when it comes to you guys are more interested in searching the web for news. So if you wish to know whether you have class or not, you will immediately type on Google and then you will try to find the answers. So that's again a problem. Distractions in the form of visual spectacles, which are easily available on television and the internet, affect your reading habits. It affects or it creates a roadblock in reading. You no longer read, but you search for things on the internet. Now, can you improve your reading habits? Let's take a look at it. Now, how can you improve your reading habits? Now, there is a formula and it is known as SQ3R. You may use this formula to be an effective reader. First one is S, which is survey. That is, you need to scan the text and identify its structure. Whenever you are given something to read, just not start reading it. Instead, you need to survey the text. You need to scan the text. You need to identify the structures which are used in the text. How it is written. Is it in an objective form? Is it in a subjective form? Is it in the form of an informative essay? Or is it in the form of a compelling story? So you just need to scan the text and identify its structure. Then the second one is Q or query. You need to ask several questions to yourself. What are you expecting to learn from this text? That is the query. Whenever you take a text to read, whenever you take a book to read, the question should be, what do you expect to discover from this book? Again, that arises a curiosity within you, so you will sit down and read. Now, the 3 R's are read, recall and review. It comes in the order read, recall and review. That is, read. Read the whole text quickly. You should not stop. You need to read the whole text quickly. Even if there is something difficult that you don't understand, even if there is a word that you don't understand, you just need to read through it quickly. Because at times, if you read a particular word within a context, you will be able to make out the meaning of that particular word. So read the whole text quickly. You should not stop. Even if there is a word that is hard to comprehend, if there is a word which is difficult to understand, you should not stop. You should read. Another thing is recall. Again, while reading, you should go back to the query that you asked first. the question that you asked first. What do you expect to discover from this article? Or what do you expect to discover from this reading material? You need to recall that question. So look back at your query question. Can you identify which section helps you in answering that query? So if you are asked to do a comprehension exercise and a question is put forth to you, first you read the question and then you go back to the text, right? So when you have identified the paragraph which contains the answer, again you need to recall, does this paragraph suit the question? Or is it the right answer to the query that I asked in the beginning? So that is known as recall. Look back at your query question, or look back into your query question. Then the last and final part is review. That is, again you need to read the important sections slowly, and you should not read again and again the same section. Sometimes this is one of the major flaws that students have, which is they just read the text over and over again without understanding the meaning. Once you have read the entire passage, you need to review the important section. You should not read everything. You should just read the important sections. Read it slowly, and again you need to remember why you are reading this. Okay? So take notes so that you can remember helpful information. And you need to underline the statements as well so that you know where you can find the answers. So again, SQ3R can help you in improving your reading habits. It can help you in becoming an effective reader. So first is survey. You need to scan the text, identify its structure, the tone, etc. Then you should ask a query, ask a question to yourself. What do you expect to discover from this text? Then you need to read the entire section without pause. Even if there is a difficult word, you should just omit it and then read the remaining. You will be able to comprehend the meaning of that word later. So just read, and then you need to recall the question that you first asked. That is, you need to recall your query question. Can you identify which section can help you in finding the answer to the query? Can you identify which section would aid you in finding the answer to this query? And the final part is review, which is reading just the important sections, reading them slowly and trying to remember why you are reading. Again, you need to keep it in your mind. You should keep it in your consciousness, why you are reading. Your objective should be there in your consciousness. And the best way you can do that is by taking notes of important points. You may also underline it so that you know that where you found this relevant information. So these are some of the tips which would help you in improving your reading habits. I hope that this was clear. I hope that today's lecture was clear. Thank you for listening. Take care.